Hello everyone, my name is Charlotte Mallett. I am a United States demonstrator living in Maine. This is my first video with Stampin' Society, and Stampin' Society, I'm sure you all know, but for my customers who don't know, we share exclusive cards monthly through video tutorials. And this month we are focusing on the suites that are in the mini catalog. I am highlighting the handsomely suited stamp, dies, and paper bundle. We're going to make this You're the Best card. You're going to need, in terms of stamps, you're going to need the 2 bow ties. You're going to want your white craft pad, or you're going to want a Versamark pad with white embossing powder. On this particular card, I used craft ink. I think I might, on this next card, use embossing so that we can kind of see how the two look differently side by side. You're going to want some Sahara sand cardstock. Now let's talk about paper measurements. Let's pull this out to the side. I am, since I'm in the United States, I'm using imperial measurements. This piece of cardstock will be our base. This is 4 1/4 by 11. So you're going to cut a piece of 8 1/2 by 11 in half, or if you have A4 cardstock, you're going to cut that in half. You're going to take a Nida Navy cardstock. This is cut to 3 1/8 by 5 1/2. Sheet of Sahara sand cut to 3 by 5 1/2. That is going to layer over this card, and this is the piece that we are going to stamp. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of the Designer Series paper. This piece here with the flowers, or you can choose whatever pattern you want, is 3 1/4 by 1. And then a piece to nestle inside of that, this grid, 1 by 3 1/4. What we're going to do is we're going to start with this piece here. Now, if you're using craft ink, you're going to need to stamp it and either heat set it or set it aside and let it dry. Hopefully build the rest of your card and then come back to mount it. If you're doing Versamark, which we're going to do this time around, you will heat set it with white emboss powder and then again just set it aside for a few seconds so that it can dry and does not smear. So let me pull my Versamark ink out. We're going to arrange our stamps on a block, and we're going to offset them just a little bit. So essentially to create a little bit of a nestling pattern that's happening on that card. So when you line them up on your block, put the knot of this bow kind of underneath the end of that bow, and similar there. Now, just wipe it a couple times with our embossing buddy before we start stamping. This helps remove that static and prepare the surface for Versamark. And then let's make sure my stamp is clean. It looks like I stamped it previously and maybe didn't clean it all the way. So we will quickly clean that off. That looks much better. And then we will start stamping. So let's move this out of the way. This is all free form. You don't need to worry about being perfect here. We're going to stamp off of either side. So we're going to take it. You can see that happening. I just love the way Versamark looks on cardstock in general. We're going to line that up. See, 1, 2. We'll get that good and juicy. Again, let's see, stamp our next one. Versamark, you don't have to work too quickly with Versamark. It will stay pretty sticky until you put embossing powder on it. So what we're going to do here, we will open this up. Just so I don't get my fingers all dusty, we'll pull this guy out. We're going to use this if I need to fill in any areas. But to begin with here, we'll start with this half and just pour some on here. like so. Curve my cardstock to dump back in. That way I know that all my good white stuff is happening here. Ooh, look, I got a goober. I'll show you how to get rid of that. The other side here. Very good. Let's put this out of the way and then let's fix our little boo-boo. Okay, we'll take a little paintbrush and we will just wipe away where that extra embossing powder landed. And then we're going to heat set. Now, I find with embossing, the more your tools are at the ready, the more you emboss. And so for me, I have my heat gun plugged in and set on my desk and ready to go at any time. That way, if I want to emboss, I just pull it out and it's quick and easy to do. And then we'll do the magic of embossing. Okay, I think we got everywhere. Oh, a little bit right there. Set that off to the side. Now, I think I already like that better. Look how much more contrast this provides than just the white on the Sahara stand. Pretty cool. All right, now let's set this off to the side, this off to the side. We'll work with our greeting. Now, this card uses You Are the Best. Again, this is just the craft on the Night of Navy. Let's heat set that and see how that looks. With a dark cardstock, you will see more splatters of your emboss if you don't use your embossing buddy. And even with, we might still see some, but let's see how good we can do here. And we'll stamp the You Are the Best, which I've already mounted. Ooh, and I have white. I left some white on there. Oh, well. What I like to do with a greeting, since we're embossing, stamp it a couple times and then choose your best version. We're going to hand cut this out, so it doesn't really matter exactly where it lands on the cardstock. And then we will add some embossing powder to this right here. Pick up just a little since we don't need a lot. That looks good. Now let's begin to build our card. Again, here's this card. This is a very basic version. The cardstock has not been embossed. The stamp is just stamp-on cardstock again, and a few layers to pop. We're going to amp this second version up a little bit. So first we're going to score our cardstock for a crisp fold. We'll use our scoring tool. Score in half at 5.5, just like so. Now there are many embossing folders that would look good with this suite. Actually, we'll use subtle because I think subtle will look nice with this. We're just going to emboss the front. Why I like to score is so that I know where to stop my embossing. We're going to tuck it into the folder like so. Stop the embossing at the edge. This is going to help us not have such a bulky card. We could emboss a piece and then put it on the base layer, but that begins to create kind of a bulky card. So let's pop that through here. Move that off to the side. And there we go, that subtle embossing. I think that will look nice popped with that. So we're changing our card a little bit on the fly here. Let's build the card. On this particular card, I like dimensionals. I pop things up. So this this right here. Sweep all this off. I made an embossing mess. Let's tack this guy onto here first. We'll take our measurement off the back and let's just add, let's get it started and add some tape. A little bit here and a little tack in the center. Ooh, I have one section. Let's fix it. See that one section I missed? And then we're going to line this up. We have about a 1/16 of an inch on either side. So just a hint of this Night of Navy on either side of the Sahara sand. Kind of like a pinstripe, if you will. Get that even on either side. Like so. Yeah. Look, I have a little extra here. I was off on my measurements. So let's clean that up. I've got a cutter off to the side. I use an old guillotine cutter, but the Stampin' Trimmer is awesome as well. Look at that. Cleaned that up right there. Okay, this is going to be mounted and popped up here. So let's use some dimensionals to do that. All right, let's move that out of the way. And center this left to right on your card, top to bottom. It's a little tricky for me to see as I am trying not to get my head in the camera, but let's see if I can do this. Okay, top to bottom, left to right, and then tack that down. And that looks nice. There we go. Now we're going to build this piece first because on the card, we have tied some of this baker's twine that's part of this bundle around the middle of that. And this is going to just tack right on top of that with just a little hint of flower pattern all the way around. So let's use this. I'll just do a little piece here, don't need a lot, in order to make that stick. It's not very heavy. Yeah, that looks good. And what's nice about this is you can place it anywhere if you've got a place that you want to hide, which we messed up on that bow. So we're going to do this a little bit lower on this particular card. But before we do that, we're going to wrap our ribbon around here, or our twine. Eyeball measure it, 1, 2, a little extra for tying. What I like to do is I just hold down the end. For me, I put the knot here. I'm just going to hold down this end here so that I know where I want to tie. I'm going to wrap it once, wrap it twice, and then tie a little knot. Nothing too hard to do here, other than my fingers are a little fat today and they don't want to tie. There we go. Beautiful. Just like that. We'll trim off our edges. 1, 2, and that looks good. Then we're going to hand cut this. These small skinny ones are just, you know, they're easy to cut, but I prefer to use long scissors and hand cut. So if you have a pair of long scissors, and just cut right under the edge. Use the baseline of the text as your guide, and use the top line of the text here as your guide, and then center it. So just chop your text like so. Now, this one is smaller. I don't know that I love that, so this is what we're going to do. Save that for another project. Go a little longer on this next one. That's what you get with me, card making on the fly. I am, when I make my cards, I rarely measure the first time around and I will change my dimensions later for mass production or for a class or a club. But I find it kind of freeing to just design the way I like it. So I like that extra tail there. We'll make it approximately that size on the other side. Just, you know, it feels a little more artistic to me not to measure. I know that goes against teaching you what that is, but let's just tell you now what that size is if you want to measure it. Roughly 2 3/4 by 1/4 inch. So that is the measurement that I think you want to go for. And if you look at the difference here between the craft and the white, pretty big difference on the contrast. We're going to pop 2 dimensionals there, tuck that in the middle. You'll look, I've kind of, it's not centered. It's probably the golden rule a little bit, 2/3 down on that little piece. And let's find my small dimensionals if I have them. Oh, I'm at the end of it. Let's trim a little piece here and use that. Dimension on the back there. Dimension here. And then center that piece. Pull that there. Using the grid paper is nice because it gives you a little line to line things up. So we pop that there. Now this card could be done as is. It's pretty cute, but we're going to add this other little bow here. So we're going to take just this stamp, clean it off again, the skinny bow tie. Now you could use the dies with this card. There is a die that matches this exactly from the bundle. However, I didn't want a halo edge on my bow tie. And when I say a halo edge, all of the dies leave about 1/8 of an inch around the image, which is a great look. It's super clean. But for here, I wanted to hand cut and trim it to the edge. Let me just show you that die so that you can see the halo edge that I'm talking about. If we were to line it up with this image, you can even see in the die how much extra space. There's just a little bit. That's the die for it. We're going to stamp this in Memento ink on just a scrap piece of white, basic white cardstock. And again, stamp a couple of them so that you are giving yourself options. 1, that looks pretty good. 2, 3, 4. First 2 are the best. Got a little and a little goober there. Paper is cheap, so use it up. All right, now we're going to color before we cut it out, because that way if we color outside the lines, we'll just trim that off. We're taking dark, so saffron Stampin' Blend. We're just using the dark, and we're coloring in every other line or so to give it a little bit of a dimension. Color in that center. We did that with the finer end of the blend. Then we're going to take the fat end and color again. This way, hopefully, creating a little bit of dimension with those 2 colors of ink laying on top of each other. Paint that in there. Yeah, that looks good. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. You want the bow tie to look a little ruffled, you know, like the light would be lighter in the areas that are above the fold. Okay, and then we are going to hand cut. You can use your paper snips for fussy cutting. I like to use big scissors, and I cut right in the edge like so. I find hand cutting images really kind of therapeutic. It just kind of takes me back to my elementary school days. trimmed out. Now, when I say which one is better, I like this one because the black didn't bleed as much, and we are going to pop that there. How we're going to do that is we're only going to add a tiny bit of adhesive to the center. Line those two up exactly. Press those down and then bend that piece up. You've created kind of a butterfly bow. And then this, we can tack on here with a dimensional or a glue dot. I like glue dots. They're tiny and easy to use. I'll put that on the back. Perfect size there. Set that guy on there. I forgot to mount this. Let's run a piece. I'm off camera. I hope I wasn't a whole bunch off camera. And there you go. You're the best. Check that out, the difference between these two cards with the embossing versus the craft. Two awesome looks, two very different looks, kind of fun. Now this bundle is awesome, especially for cards that are a little more masculine. The dies are pretty self-explanatory, and you can build yourself a suit and tie very easily. So here's a card using the dies. That you know, you don't have to go real crazy and reinvent the wheel with this bundle. You can use it as it's intended and have a fantastic looking card. This uses the pinstripe. Here is the same card using this kind of tweed, right? On this particular card, just a little tip for you. World's Greatest. The stamp set reads what does it read? Let's pull it in. To one of the world's greatest dads. I wanted to eliminate one of the and dads so that this card could go to anyone. World's Greatest. And then here's a version that's just suit and tie birthday card, and the white paper as the dress shirt. But for this video, I wanted to show you a little different take on how to use this stamp set. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I can't wait to stamp with you again next month. Thanks again. My name is Charlotte Mallett. Have a great day.